Tattoo Cowboy here. Coming up, I'm going to tell you about the time that my knife was confiscated by Dolly Parton. This one's for you, Rome. So this was an event that happened almost 2 years ago now. It happened November 2021. I was on a family vacation to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I had my camera bag with me. I just gotten it, and I say camera bag, but I was using it as a diaper bag. This is a bag from 3V Gear. It's a gray man bag, and so I just gotten it. They sent it to me out to review. It has a compartment back here that unzips, and you can store a firearm back there, or whatever you'd like to keep hidden. It doesn't stand out at all, and I got it, or I requested it for my wife to use, so that she can carry off body, because she didn't like to carry on her person. But anyways, we're there on vacation. Tennessee is one of those states that enforces no gun signs, no guns allowed signs, that is. So as long as they have a sign that meets the legal requirements, then private property can put up post signs, and if they see that you have a gun for whatever reason, like however they discover it, then you can be prosecuted for it. So I was careful about where I carried the handgun, even though I had a valid Alabama concealed carry permit. That just doesn't matter in states like that. So was planning out the days, and of course my wife wanted to go to Dollywood on the day that they lit up the park, first time of the year, with Christmas lights. We'd never been to Dollywood before, so I didn't know what to expect. I checked their weapon policy online. The policy says no firearms allowed, kind of figured. And it also says that knives are allowed, with the exception of they can't have a blade length exceeding 3 inches. So take a closer look at these knives here. So these are the two knives that I decided to carry into Dollywood, or at least attempt to. This first one here is just a cheap gas station folder that I was gifted at Christmas. I really don't know what the blade length was, or at least I didn't at the time. It does measure right at 3 inches, but for all I knew at the time, it could have been 3.5. This is a Kershaw K-bar, intended for law enforcement use. This one is the non-serrated blade. This one went into my pocket. This one went into the bag. So I do my research even more in depth on Dollywood, because I thought, well, let's see if it's even possible to get a firearm inside the park. So I'm Googling, and I find out that they have metal detectors and security checking bags. So I knew that a gun definitely was a no-go, even though I would never unlawfully carry a gun into a gun-free zone, that is. I knew that my knives were good to go. My folder there is questionable. It was probably around 3 inches, maybe a little bit more. I didn't know how strict they were on that 3-inch policy. So I had my diaper bag here. I was pocket carrying the folder, and I had this one inside the bag. And also, I decided to kind of challenge the security to see just how well they searched the bags. So I threw a holster inside that hidden compartment, and I thought I'd throw in like a magazine in there. I mean, none of those things are regulated items. They're not firearms. They're just accessories, essentially pieces of plastic and metal. And so I threw those in there to challenge, just to challenge them. And we get to the park. It's packed out, of course. They're shuttling people from the parking lot to the front gate. And before we board the shuttle, then they make an announcement. If anybody has a pocket knife or a knife of any kind, go back to your car now. They won't allow the knife into the park. Of course, my wife looks at me and she says, "You got a knife?" And I said, "I have two knives, but the policy says I can have them. We're good. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about." So we get up to security. I hand them my bag. They're looking through my bag. I hand them my pocket knife. I walk through the metal detector. They give me back my pocket knife. They're still looking through my bag. They come across this knife and they pull it out and immediately say, "It can't come in the park." And I said, "You're wrong. The policy says that it can come in the park. It doesn't exceed the 3-inch blade length rule." He says, "This is a fixed blade. They don't allow fixed blades." And I said, I pull up the policy on my phone. I said, "It's no more than 3 inches. I think the blade length is under 2 inches. So I showed them the policy. It just says nothing about fixed blade. It's the only rule to the policy is it can't exceed the 3-inch blade length. And he's still arguing that, they don't allow fixed blades. And I said, "Well, they don't say anything about it, so it must be fine." And he just kept saying they. And I said, "Who is they?" Because the park to me is they, and they say that it's fine. Or don't say it says it's not allowed anyways. It doesn't say anything about that. He finally says, "Security, they don't allow it." And I said, "Get your supervisor over here." He comes over, looks at the knife, says, "Fixed blade, they don't allow it." So I continue to argue with them. And security is, of course, the Sevierville County Sheriff's Department. They run the security out there at Dollywood. So I feel bad for my family because my wife tried to tell me not to bring a knife. The knife I thought would be a problem wasn't a problem. If I thought this knife would have been a problem, I would have threw it inside that secret compartment, because they didn't even say anything about the holster. They stopped looking when they found that knife and never even continued searching the bag. So I feel bad for my family standing there waiting on me. I asked the security, "Can I go talk to guest services? Maybe they can talk some sense into y'all." And so I go do that. My family goes ahead and gets in the ticket line because it's, outrageous. And while they're waiting in line, it took a little while to get through guest services, but not nearly as long as the ticket line. So I get up there and talk to guest services, ask them what their policy is on knives. And, she says what I know, 3 inches or less. And I asked her if there's anything against fixed blades, and she says no. And I tell her, "Well, security has a problem with my knife." And she said, "Well, security has the final say so. If they don't want you to have it, then you can't have it." So I'm thinking this is such bull crap. My option now, I'm past security, but they have my knife. So I got two options. I can go back to security and take my knife to my vehicle, which would be probably at least a half an hour ordeal, waiting on the shuttle to and from the park. Or I could just kiss that knife goodbye and hope that maybe once we leave the park, then I can go back around to security and they still have it there and I can retrieve it. So that's what I do. I join my family in the ticket line. We, I guess, enjoy ourselves. I'm, salty about the whole ordeal still, the entire time at the park. I just wasn't happy about how things played out. I feel like I was in the right. I did nothing wrong. I followed the policy. The Sevierville County Sheriff's Department, though, decided to be tyrants, in my opinion, because whenever I look at these two knives, I see a hunting rifle and AR-15. Well, I don't see that, but I feel like that's how they look at it. I feel like they see a normal gun, we'll say, and then they see a assault weapon. Of course, these aren't guns, though. These are knives, so they do the exact same thing. They both cut. They both didn't really have a intended purpose. They cut what I tell them to cut. They don't. One doesn't cut one thing better than the other. Of course, depending on the condition of the blade, but you get my point. So that's my story on how Dolly Parton confiscated my knife. As you see, I do have another one. My wife got me that one for a Christmas gift a couple months later, or the next month. Of course, whenever I opened it, though, then I saw what it was. I rewrapped it, and I put a little tag on it that said, "From Dolly Parton to Tactical Cowboy." And I sent a picture to my buddy who loves giving me a hard time about Dolly Parton taking my knife. So he got a kick out of that. I'm glad to have a knife back. I wish that hadn't happened to me. And also, following that event, then I kept emailing Dollywood, trying to get them to update their knife policy. Now, I haven't checked on the policy in a while. I kept contacting them several months after that ordeal happened, trying to get them to update that policy, like I said, but they never would respond to my emails. They responded once. I told them what happened, and then it was just silence. I'd email them again. They never would reply. So Dollywood is on my naughty list. So leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about my ordeal. If you think that it was fair what happened. If you think that they have a good reason for allowing a folder and not a fixed blade. So let me know if you've ever had an occurrence like that happen to you. Thanks for watching, though, and until next time, Tactical Cowboy out.